It's the Friday News Roundup. We're talking about our state budget crisis is now hurting the youngest Philadelphians. Plus, we take a look at homicide investigations in the city, and a Philly goat needs a wheelchair. It's Friday, October 17th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week at the Fiddler Club is CityCast Philly executive producer Matt Katz. Hey, Matt.
What's up, Trenae?
All right. What number is it? It's 110 days.
I think that's right.
Without a budget.
Yeah.
We're the only state in the country that's operating right now without one. And the Democratic-controlled State House approved yet another budget Wednesday that has a 5% spending increase. But the Republican-controlled Senate wants no spending increase, so they haven't voted on the budget.
Right. And we don't know when they will. And in the meantime, there's major consequences. As I've said so many times, the legislature's primary job is to approve how to appropriate our tax dollars, right? We already gave them our money, and now they just need to decide where it goes. And yet they haven't done it. But they're still getting paid. Guess how much it costs to run our legislature? I learned this week. By the way, there's 253 legislators. It's the largest legislature in the country. No other state has this many legislators, 253. So with all those people and all their staff and all of their offices, it costs $400 million to run a state legislature that has failed to do its primary job, which is to pass a budget by July 1st. They each get a base salary of $110,000. They get a budget to hire staff both in Harrisburg and then in their home district. They get a per diem of like $200 a day, a pension, healthcare for life. There's a bill out there right now that a couple of legislators are proposing that would actually cut the legislature in half. So the House of Representatives would be reduced from 203 members to 101, and the Senate would go from 50 to 38.
Why it's not like an even number?
I don't know.
Or right. Split it in half.
Yeah, like why not 25 senators?
Yeah, I feel like a Senate needs to be like either 25 or 50.
Right.
That's weird.
There's no way, anyway, it passes, right?
We can barely get it together for this budget.
Now
you want to introduce new legislation
to
change it up? No.
And then also, are legislators really going to take a vote to eliminate their jobs? That seems really unlikely.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to this budget impasse, though. A lot of consequences have continued. Let's break some of it down.
Yeah.
Schools.
Right. Schools still aren't getting funding from the state, so they're taking out loans. We've talked before about how it's costing just the Philadelphia School District alone $30 million in fees and interest just to borrow money so they can pay salaries and keep schools open because they're not getting state funds. Now we found out this week that city preschools, who, these places operate on very thin margins. Preschool teachers, as we know, don't make a lot of money. But the owners of these preschools are now having to dip into their personal savings because they haven't got funding from the state. They can't pay teachers. They can't pay rent without it. This is specifically affecting preschools that rely on what's called the Pre-K Counts program from the state, and that funds preschools for lower-income families and children who are learning English or who have special needs. Chalkbeat reported that there's 5,000 students who are in preschools that are funded in this way. So that money isn't there, and these preschool operators have to figure out other ways of keeping their doors open.
Totally disrupting education for our younger learners. And there was a piece of good news, though. During these disruptions, the district attorney's office here in the city is giving $90,000 to several different organizations that have been impacted, again, by not having this budget. The city's only rape crisis center, which we've talked about on the show before, known as WAR, had to lay off staff. They had to cancel therapy services due to the lack of state funds. But now the district attorney's office has stepped in to help 9 community-based victim services organizations.
Including war,
including
right?
War.
And they're also helping war in this time in which they had to like cut back their services because of the state budget crisis. The state treasurer, Stacey Garrity, she's running this like low interest loan program where while the legislature figures out their stuff here. So organizations that would normally get state funds that are not getting state funds could take out loans through the state treasurer's office. And the first loans came out this week. And according to her office, the Pennsylvania Coalition to Advance Respect, which funds 47 rape crisis centers throughout the state, including war, they got money at a low interest rate. So help from the district attorney's office run by Democrat Larry Krasner, and also help from Treasurer Stacey Garrity, a Republican. The backdrop of both of these funding mechanisms, of course, is that Krasner is up for re-election in 3 weeks, Democrat against Pat Dugan, who's running as a Republican. And then Garrity, the treasurer, is the presumptive Republican candidate for governor next year against Governor Shapiro. So we can be cynical about the politics behind this, but it's also good that some of these organizations that desperately need it are getting a little money right now.
Yeah,
while
but it's
the
a loan,
legislature...
and like I don't know how I feel about that, if that's going to impact them later down the road.
Totally. They have to pay it back. Absolutely. And with interest. Whereas the Krasner money is just straight up funding.
Right. There was more news from the state capitol this week. Mm-hmm. Cody Balmer, the man who tried to assassinate Governor Josh Shapiro earlier this year, pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated arson, and will face 25 to 50 years in prison.
Yeah, he tried to kill Shapiro and his whole family. I mean, Balmer climbed a 7-foot fence, broke 2 windows with a hammer, threw Molotov cocktails made from beer bottles, and then tried to bust through a door to the area of the house where Shapiro and more than a dozen of his family members, including 8 kids, were sleeping. And remember, you know, Shapiro's Jewish, and they had just celebrated that night Passover. Police say that Balmer admitted that he would have used the sledgehammer on Shapiro if he had gotten through into the residence. Fortunately, everyone got out safely, of course, but this was obviously like a serious security breach and just a scary situation, and obviously just another moment of political violence in our country. Balmer had a history of mental illness, and he specifically hated Shapiro because of Shapiro's stance on Israel and because of the war in Gaza. After the plea deal and Balmer pleading guilty, Shapiro and his wife spoke to reporters, and here's a little bit about what Shapiro said. He's describing here the surveillance videos from that night that authorities released.
He was able to penetrate the residence right up to a door that led to the hallway where we were in our private living quarters. I know those videos are chilling. They've been haunting me for months. I've been trying to unsee them for the last 6 months. Now, when we walk through the residence, we often think about the steps he took and where he roamed. Those double doors that lead to my office and Lori's office and where we sleep, those doors that he tried to break through. That metal hammer that he wielded that apparently he wanted to use to kill me with.
Chilling stuff, right?
I actually met Shapiro. He came to my church kind of a little bit after this incident, and, you know, we just embraced him, although, you know, we're different religions, but we embraced him as a community in support of his family. And those were some scary, scary moments.
Yeah, Shapiro went on to describe just like constant reminders of what Balmer did when he's at the governor's residence, including a charred bush that remains on the property. He said that he sees it all the time when he's out in the yard taking calls. It was really just moving to hear him describe some of this stuff in more detail than he has in the past.
We've got more news after the break.
Hi, I'm Michael Ziviak, Chief Revenue Officer of CityCast. Why do most of us want to learn a new language? It's because we want to speak it out in the real world with real people. Babbel gets you there fast. My daughter's a senior in high school, and after she graduates, we're taking a father-daughter trip to Spain. I know, she's spoiled, but that's on me. I'll be honest, my Spanish right now is pretty much tops out at ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? But when we get there, I want to actually talk to people, order food, and really connect with the locals, not just stumble through the basics. That's why I'm starting with Babbel. Learning a language with Babbel is all about small steps, big wins, and progress you can actually track and feel. And with how busy things get here at CityCast, I love that Babbel's bite-sized, 10-minute lessons fit perfectly into my day, whether it's between meetings or while I'm having coffee in the morning. I'm really excited to start picking up real-world Spanish before our trip so we can experience Spain in a more meaningful way. Right now, Babbel has a special deal for our listeners. Get up to 55% off your subscription at babbel.com/citycast. That's BABBEL.com/citycast for up to 55% off. Rules and restrictions may apply. Gracias and adios.
So, Matt, I was at a Wawa this week and I saw a car that had a flyer of the missing 23-year-old Philadelphia woman, Kata Scott, on it. And it just reminded me that, it's so important to highlight this particular story. A lot of times, Black women go missing and these stories aren't paid attention to.
Yeah, they have historically just not gotten the same kind of attention, both from authorities and the media, as cases of other individuals who are kidnapped or go missing.
And so that's why it was really important for me to talk about Kata Scott. And it's really shocked the Philadelphia community. She's been missing since October 4th. She was last seen leaving work at an assisted living facility up in Chestnut Hill. And her family even said that, she would be active on social media and there has been no presence of her since for some days now. But this week, police did make an arrest and charged 21-year-old Keon King of Southwest Philly with kidnapping and reckless endangerment in connection to Scott's case. The crazy thing is he's been charged with kidnapping earlier this year.
Yeah, and I read that the DA's office dropped that case against him. He was charged with kidnapping and strangulation of another individual earlier this year. The charges were withdrawn by the DA's office because the witness failed to appear in court. So he was free.
In the case of Scott, who is still missing, police got a lot of tips about possible evidence that led them to this abandoned school near Arboretum in Germantown, which is near Scott's workplace. And if you've been following the case, you know that they were out there last week in that area. They didn't come up with anything, but they did find some possible evidence. They were also looking for a car that was involved in this, which they discovered on Wednesday afternoon. Last I heard that authorities were waiting on a search warrant to search the vehicle for possible clues. If you know anything, see anything, you are urged to call 215-686-TIPS, 215-686-8477.
Because they still haven't found Kata. One other crime I did want to mention from this past week, the IHOP in Center City?
Yes.
A security guard, a woman named Yahira Melendez, she allegedly shot a man inside the restaurant late last Saturday night who police say had been causing a disturbance. He was an unhoused man, and she was apparently in the process of escorting him out of the IHOP for, causing trouble in there. He then spit on Melendez. She then drew her weapon and shot him dead. So the man, Brian Delp, was 43, and the DA has charged her with murder, which it's kind of extraordinary. That kind of shocked me, because it's a security guard, and clearly there was a conflict that led up to it. But also it's there's something of a problem late night in Center City. There are people who cause disturbances in establishments, and I just wish there was a better way of connecting people with help as opposed to dealing with them with violence.
Right, because I was going to say, if her justification was that she felt like she was being threatened, but it seems unusual for a security guard to be charged with murder.
Totally. Well, while we're on the topic of homicides, and we'll get to something lighter after the break, but I did want to say that there is some news related to homicides that really stopped me in my tracks. And we can put the word positive and homicides in the same sentence, but in this case, not only are we on track to have the lowest murder rate in the city in decades,
which is a great thing.
Yes. But the Inquirer reported this week that police are solving homicides at the highest rate that they have in decades. So between 86 and 91% of cases are being solved. From 2015 to 2022, the rate of solved homicides was like 50% or less, meaning at that time you were literally likely to get away with murder in our city. But now, with fewer murders in general, homicide detectives' workload is a lot less. They have more time to work on cases. And then police also said that technology is really helping them. Surveillance cameras, there's more than 7,000 of those, those circular 360-degree cameras you'll see on street poles around the city. They are super high resolution. They've been really helpful for police. There's also license plate readers, social media posts that detectives can comb through, cell phone location analysis. All of this stuff, police say, is helping them make arrests for homicides quicker and just solve cases. And that obviously makes the city safer because shooters are then not shot in retaliation, right? It can kind of break that up. And instead, they're getting locked up. And maybe it also gives witnesses the courage to say something to police if they know that whoever they're alleging might have been the shooter in a situation, if they know that that person is going to end up actually getting arrested. So that's some good news on that front. Still, there were 800 killings between 2021 and 2023 in this city that have still not been solved. That's also according to the Inquirer.
All right, we'll be back after this break. All right, we did promise we'll do a lighter news story now. Let's talk about youth sports.
Oh my God,
we're heavily involved.
Yeah,
in
you
youth
and I
sports.
are constantly in the car going from sports field to sports field, right?
Yes.
What do you got this weekend? Do you have sports this weekend?
I always do. We got a football game. We're undefeated, baby.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah. But it's also our homecoming, so you gotta spend more money.
I've got flag football, 8 a.m. Saturday, which is brutal.
We have to be on the field by 9, so I understand.
Then we've got softball for my daughter, and I'm looking at my calendar. Oh, and a baseball game for my son as well, Saturday.
I had 3 field hockey games this week.
Oof.
I know.
I was reading about youth sports in the city. There's a new study from the city that's found that there is such disparity around Philadelphia when it comes to access to great sports facilities. So neighborhoods with a higher percentage of white residents have more fields, better amenities, more programs available for kids' sports. The study said that there are 1,400 fields and courts and baseball diamonds around the city, and around those facilities, there's actually a lower crime rate. which they attribute to the fact that kids have something to do after school and on the weekends. But 60% of all these facilities that were analyzed were rated at being below average in terms of their condition. So like litter and poor maintenance, that kind of thing. It really falls on the shoulders of neighbors and parents who have the time and have the commitment to keep these fields up. And that's apparently what we need more of, right? The city only does so much. I wish they did more. Did you know that the Parks and Rec budget is only 1.2% of the city's overall budget? So it's really not that much money that these parks are getting. And the fields and baseball diamonds and courts that are experiencing the most trouble because of all this are those in poor neighborhoods and the less white neighborhoods.
Matt, this study does not seem surprising to me. I mean, I am a parent who's participated in Philly Rec football and cheerleading programs in North Philly, predominantly Black and Latino neighborhoods. I've seen the conditions of the facilities, like the concession stands or the concession building or area where you could sell hot dogs and burgers. Well, that is so rusty and cobwebs and just not even sanitary. So we have to make makeshift tables and sell stuff different ways. Now, given my kids' interest and changes in teams over the years, they participate in different sports and we're involved in different organizations. And to remind everyone, or just to let anyone know who doesn't understand youth sports, this is all volunteer community help.
Right.
And what's important to remember is that any money that is associated with a concession stand or uniforms or like homecoming festivities or traveling to and from practice, to and from games, that is money coming out of families' budgets.
No doubt about it.
Right?
Yep.
And you're trying to get your kids active. You want them to experience teamwork and being on a team and being a reliable person and learn new skills. But time and money for the parents.
No
right?
question about it.
And then there's the championship games. And what happens when your kid is actually good? You're going to nationals. You're going to Florida.
Thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. And God forbid you have another kid.
Yeah, who's good at sports
who's
also.
Who's also good at sports. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
You have no life. But
you hope for a kid that's good at drawing and he just needs some nice markers.
Legos. We can do that, right? But I will say I'm not surprised at this study.
Yeah.
I'm going to shout out the North Philly Aztecs. That is our team. That's our family's team. There were gracious donations from professional athletes like Michael Vick, who actually helped get the North Philly Aztecs their turf field. They were playing on a field that was dirt, grass, syringes sprinkled all over the place. But they, over the years, it's been maybe like at least a decade now since we've had this field. And thank God for those donations. But I'm not surprised, Matt.
There's also Connor Barwin, a former Eagles player. He's got an organization, Make the World Better Foundation, and they do public space revitalization projects to sort of help these facilities for recreation, sports, and other kind of activities like that.
Yeah, so it's families and professional athletes trying to step in.
When the government doesn't, which is sort of the theme of the top of the show, right?
I've had enough. So more youth sports this weekend, and I'm going to a winery.
Ooh, okay. Before the football game?
No. I'm not that type of parent. I'm the type of parent that's filming the sky, and I totally missed the play.
Right. And I've got one event.
Okay.
Because it's adorable. I had to bring it up. There's a fundraiser tomorrow for a goat who needs a wheelchair.
Oh, my God.
The Inquirer describes Ray as a, quote, jolly middle-aged goat, 7 years old. He loves taking long strolls around Arboretum, supporting people in bereavement with hoof shakes and kisses. and taking children with cerebral palsy on rides. Do we love Ray or what? Isn't he the best? And he needs $2,000 for a wheelchair. So there's a fundraiser tomorrow that the Philly Goat Project is running at the Conservatory at Laurel Hill West Cemetery. Tickets run $75, but there's all kinds of fun stuff to do there. It's called Goat Oberfest. Goat Oberfest. I think I'm pronouncing that right. There'll be 13 goats there. There's a Halloween costume contest, a fire pit, and a chance to win goat art.
Wow.
So you can check out that article in our show notes and find out more about the fundraiser.
Philly is so interesting.
Right? There's so much happening.
So much.
And it's across a wide range. But we'll report back if and when Ray gets his wheelchair.
If you are looking for ideas on what to do in Philly this weekend, head over to our newsletter, Hey Philly, at philly.citycast.fm. All right. Thanks, Matt, for joining me on this week's Friday News Roundup.
Hope you guys win all of your sports this weekend.
Yes.
And go Birds.
Go Birds. That's all for us today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producer is Abby Fritz. Our Hey Philly newsletter editors are Siani Colon and Selena Say Reynolds. Our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos. If you enjoyed the show, please share it in the group chat, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.